First of all, introducing our challenger.
Out of the blue corner.
He's going to step in and he does. It's all over.
Let's bring on the boom.
This is Eternal MMA.
All right, here we are back with another edition of the Eternal Insiders Podcast. Joining us today, one of the men set to feature in this weekend's co-main event at Eternal 96 when he takes on Matty Iann for the Eternal MMA Interim Bantamweight Championship. He started his career off in absolutely spectacular fashion, winning his first two pro fights by first-round knockout apiece, and already looking to add some professional silverware to his mantle in just his third pro fight. Connor, the Highlander Birch, on the show for the very first time to talk about this upcoming fight. Absolutely looking forward to this conversation as much as I'm looking forward to the fight, brother. But it's fight week, mate. How are the vibes for you and the team right now? I assume they're quite high.
Yeah, vibes are always good. Obviously, the weight cut is not the best part, but it's part of the job. But always keen for the fight, you know. So that's on the horizon, and that's always keeps the spirits high.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about the weight cut side of things there. You actually, and we're going to talk about the fight and all the good things that come with it, but you've actually competed up as high as welterweight from what I can see and traveled sort of down through the weight classes and now down at bantamweight. So obviously with that, is the weight cuts like just because you fought at those higher, sort of weights and that sort of thing? Is it just getting harder and harder? Like, what's the sort of the story there?
No, I was just, my first fight at welterweight was just by chance, really. I was just a fat 75 kilo kid. And yeah, had no idea how to cut weight or whatever. So we took that first fight at 77.
First round knockout, by the way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Started out good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just like I'm not a big like lightweight, featherweight or anything like that. Like I'm perfect size for bantamweight. I just had no idea how to actually cut weight, so I didn't sort of want to put myself through that process. And yeah, I'm not as big as I thought I was. And turns out I'm actually a pretty decent sized bantamweight. So, yeah.
You look in incredible shape these days, brother.
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you like up close and personal at Eternal 91, man. And you look like a very sharp, trim, fit, good to go bantamweight, man. So definitely in the right place here. But obviously we're on fight week now. Like, I assume things kind of, obviously they change. You go through the weight cuts. I assume things like training and that start to kind of ramp down a little bit. Like, what's sort of like your fight week activity like at this point?
Yeah, I just chill. I trained hard up until last Friday was probably my last hard session. And I just chill, just keep the body moving, keep it fresh, and just make sure to get a sweat up. Nothing too crazy.
Now, you're training out of Tribal MMA, of course. Now, Eternal MMA fans will be familiar, of course, with yourself, but names like Mitch McLaren, guys like Gabriel Schlupp that have competed for Eternal MMA in the past as well. But one of maybe a couple of your head coaches, Paul Birch. Now, for those that don't know, Paul Birch, who is he to you if not just your coach? Obviously a relation of some kind.
Yeah, so that's my dad.
That's your dad. I didn't know. I was looking at him because I don't know. I was looking at him. I was like, "Is he your brother? Is it maybe your dad?" Like, I'm trying to. He obviously looks older, kind of thing. But I wanted to ask you. It's dad.
Yeah, that's dad. That's
cool.
Dad.
How is that as far as a relationship goes? Like having dad is like not only dad but also your coach as well. That's it's a pretty cool dynamic.
Yeah, it has its moments.
Sure.
No, it's good. He knows me more than anybody. So it's a good dynamic. It's a love-hate relationship sometimes, but it's always good. Wouldn't have anybody else there.
Is this always kind of the way it's been for you? And I guess we can kind of go back to getting a bit of an introduction in terms of where this started for you in terms of getting into martial arts in general, not just mixed martial arts, but Paul or Dad, has he always been your coach right from the beginning? When did this relationship sort of first come to be?
Yeah, so it started off, so he was originally a football player. So he come over from New Zealand to play football.
And when you say that, you obviously you mean rugby because you're from up north.
Rugby, yeah.
I'm sure everyone that watches this podcast would just know that, but I'm a Victorian guy, so when people say footy to me, like I just start thinking AFL, so I have to mentally switch gears in my head to, cool, so footy, continue, I'll let you go.
Yeah, so he came over to play rugby, and he ended up joining the police, but when I was younger, I was trying to be a rugby league guy, so he was basically my coach from then. Then we moved up to the Sunshine Coast, and we ended up going to Thailand to do a fight camp over there in about 2011. So I think I was maybe 13 or 14. And they had me sparring with all the kid fighters over there. And it wasn't until I sort of got back, I thought maybe I could have a crack at this. You know, if I had no fights, was sparring with guys over there that had fights and I was beating them, I was like, maybe I could have a crack. And yeah, we just trained out of the garage for my first 2 fights, just me and a couple of the other bros, like no background at all, just little bits of shit from YouTube and the UFC game. And then, yeah, after that, we just decided to go all in and get a gym. So it's he's backed me a lot, you know, to get here. So, yeah.
Hell yeah. It's a lot of guys I've talked to. The UFC game is always thrown in there sometimes when it's talking about how did you get into MMA? Like, you know, the UFC games play a vital part in that too, man. Like, did you, like, prior to all of this, did you have any interest in MMA sort of in general, or did it kind of like all tie in when you just sort of first became interested in competing?
No, so I always liked fighting. I always thought I was a
just
good
like
fighter,
combat sports in general, or combat in general, just fighting.
Yeah. I was always pretty aggressive as a kid. Even playing football, like I played football just to tackle. You know, I didn't really care too much about anything else. I just wanted to make a collision.
Just wanted to line dudes up.
Yeah, that's it. I wasn't the biggest, but I always put shots on. So, then I got sick of sort of you could have the best game and then still lose, you know, in the team aspect. And slowly drifted away from that. And he always put us into like boxing, taekwondo, and things like that as kids, but we never really stuck at it. But say if me and my brother had an argument when we were younger, he'd make us put the gloves on and first big shot wins. Yeah. And my brother was older and bigger than me, so he'd always win. And it was my head getting snapped back, and then I'd arc up and try and get back at him. But yeah, it was too big.
Is your brother do anything combat sports as well?
None. Zero.
None. Okay. He was just a bigger guy because the older guy, so.
Yeah. He actually took to it a lot more naturally than I did.
Okay.
But yeah, I just, stuck at it.
Sure. Yeah, okay. I like that. Yeah, old school. Like, put the boys against each other, let them duke it out a little bit and settle the differences. That's a good way of doing it, man. Hell yeah. You mentioned boxing there before too. You actually have a pro boxing match under your belt. Another knockout win, TKO, but another finish on your record there. Just the one. What was the foray into the boxing world? Was it just an opportunity that kind of presented itself? Were you thinking of exploring that instead of MMA, or what can you tell us about that journey into boxing?
Yeah, so I was trying to turn pro. I'd just come back from a little bit of a niggling injury, like nothing too major. But I had about maybe 4 or 5 pullouts through the course of that whole year. And so I was basically in training camp the whole year. And I'd get 2 weeks out from a fight and the opponent's pulled out or the show got cancelled or something like that. And I just sort of got sick of it. You know, I got a bit burnt out, fell out of love with the sport a little bit. And my manager, Sar, he's actually into the boxing, Sar Hunt. He's got a few boxing connections. He was working for Tasman at the time. And I thought, might as well give this a crack. You know, I don't mind stand-up. You know, I don't have to worry about grappling. I can just go in there. Worst thing that happens, you get chin. But, yeah, it worked out in my favour. But after that, it gave me a good time to still compete and sort of realise how much I missed it. And then I could come back with a bit of a fresh outlook. And it was good to sort of get that last, I guess, match or last fight for a bit more experience and then turn pro.
Yeah, so look, I've been burnt by Tapology before lying to me, but it looks like in between when you kind of finished your amateur career in mixed martial arts and then moved into the professional ranks, that was close to a 3-year gap. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess like just in between that time, like obviously, I mean, you're not out of the training room, you're still like, you know, honing your skills and that sort of thing. But was that a little, in a way, like a little bit daunting to have that gap between late 2021 and then almost, I mean, September. August was your first pro fight in 2024. Yeah. Was that kind of in any way a bit like of a daunting task to jump into the pros after such a gap in your amateur career?
No, not really. Like, so I was unfortunate with injuries starting out. Like, I think after my 3rd or 4th fight, I was out for a while with injury. Came back, got injured before that fight, but still fought. Then I was out for another while again. So I think maybe I'd missed close to 3 years at the start of my amateur career. And then I'd always come back and still have good performances. I think one of my toughest fights actually was against a guy named Brendan Cox. And I'd come back from, I think, maybe a 1 or 2 year layoff. Did absolutely zero grappling because of my injuries, and I was just trying to baby it. But yeah, ended up coming back, and he was from the weight division above, undefeated, 6-0, had knocked everybody out, and he was on short notice as well. And I thought I'll just take it and see how we go. And yeah, got the job done, and didn't feel like I'd been out of the cage for a while. So ring rust has never really been a thing for me. It's fighting's just fight anyway. You get in the fight going to your car, it's just you're either ready or you're not.
I like that approach, man. It's a fantastic attitude. It's funny because you look at your record there and just looking at that fight, and you sort of look down and then you see a fight just under the fight you were talking about against Brandon Cox. And on your record, you fought the current welterweight champion, David Martinez, back in 2017, which is crazy. And we're talking about a guy that's about to go in and fight for the Interim Bantamweight Championship. It's just such a wild ride to sort of see someone that goes down through these weight classes all the way down to bantamweight and now looking to fight for a title. It's just such an interesting sort of thing to see kind of on the record. But like we mentioned at the top of the show, man, starting off this pro career in pretty spectacular fashion, 2 first-round knockouts in your first 2 pro fights at Eternal 87 and Eternal 91, respectively. Let's talk about that hot start, man. I mean, look, in your estimation, I'm sure, not too many better ways you could have started off things in your pro career.
Yeah, no, it all went perfect. I think it came down to maturity. And having that last boxing fight, I used to come out hot a lot of times, especially in my amateur career, and just go crazy. And I was always fit and always trained hard, but I'd always get tired, and it wasn't really a conditioning issue. It was more of a pacing issue. And then it was just me trying too hard from the beginning, just trying to sprint through every fight. And then having that last sort of boxing match, I guess I could get it out of my system. I went a little bit crazy in the first round in that fight, and paid the price. I got caught, but managed to come back and get him in the second round. But it was a bit of all right, if you want to turn pro, we've got to be smarter, use the skills, not just go nuts, So that was the main focus of that first fight, was just to be calm and just let it happen. 15 minutes is a long time. And that was mainly because of one of my other coaches, Ferdy, and training partners, Mitch Ferdy.
Yep.
Just always in my ear, just take your time. Take your time. You got 15 minutes is a lot of time to land a punch, So, yeah. And that after that fight, it was a big, it was a confirmation for me, I can't take my time. The rush things. Yeah.
Is that sort of that kind of instruction in terms you can just take your time? Is that sort of almost going against your constitution because you're so wired to be I want to put hands on people, I want to run through people, and you got someone saying just kind of take your time. You're you just got adrenaline. You're trying to sort of go at guys. And I mean, were you 27 now? 20?
Yeah, 27. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess part of that you talk about the maturity side of things. You just sort of found that. With kind of the experience in both the amateurs and the boxing, and then just even with the age and everything and listening to the coaches, that it's helped you kind of change that mindset probably a bit more naturally, I guess.
Yeah. Yes and no. The adrenaline's there.
Yeah.
But I always feel pretty calm, in the fight. Even for my first fight, I didn't really experience any butterflies or anything like that. But I just want to go. I just want to crack them straight away and just go for it, just have a good fight. But there's a lot more at stake now, just got to be smarter. People are getting better. And I've got the skills to take my time. I don't need to force the issue. And yeah, just to have fun, just to, take it as it comes.
I mean, you talk about good fights, and I mean, you've kind of deprived us of good fights in the start to your pro career because you're getting the job done so early in these first rounds. I mean, you go back to that Eternal 87 card, and you had that fantastic, beautiful combo against Lucas Griselli. My boy, Matt Bones, he was certainly glazing over that. He loved that finish. I love that finish too. Yeah. But, I mean, the fight that got us to this point is the fight against Chris Usinovsky at Eternal 91. Just that beautiful one-hitter quitter, just, put him out straight away, fight's over. I was selfishly wanting that fight to go for a little bit longer, man. I'm strapped in on the cage, thinking I'm looking at two of like the best up-and-coming boxers we got on the scene. I want 2.5 rounds of, these guys showing off their skills, and then maybe we get a knockout in the third round. You end things in the first round. I mean, hats off to you. Fantastic. Like, it was absolutely spectacular knockout, man. But, can you talk about that finish in particular? Like, what were you sort of seeing into the lead up to that? Were you expecting to be able to get the job done so early? Because Chris had a lot of hype behind him too.
Yeah. Chris is a real good fighter. Really, he's probably the most skilled striker that I've faced. I was pretty excited for that matchup. But I just knew he hadn't faced a striker on his level. So I've been in there with guys that have a lot of knockouts on their record, and I was still able to get through them. And I knew his opponents, the last two opponents that I saw, were mainly grapplers, and he was lighting them up. And I thought, if he comes with that sort of same energy, I'll have the skills to match in the striking department. And I knew he had a great jab, and he caught me with it a few times, and it was super quick. But in the lead up to that fight, we were focusing on letting him jab and just coming over the top of it. And worked a treat.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Certainly had the place on its feet. One of the highlights of the night, man. I mean, you said too in the post fight that you just want to create highlights like that. That's what you're sort of all about. Like, what is that part of the game sort of really important to you? Like, why is it sort of got to be highlights? For your career, like how much of a factor is that in terms of what you want to be going forward as a fighter?
Yeah, I want to be fun to watch. I trust my skills everywhere. I'm good everywhere. I drill everywhere. I leave no stone unturned. But I want to finish. It's you want to leave no doubt. If you go to a decision, it's 15 minutes back and forward. You don't want anyone to be able to dispute. Oh, I think he won this. I think he won that. I want to be the decider.
Well, I mean, I think in terms of decisions, man, you're not very familiar with those because you go back right through your amateur career, whether it's wins or losses through the amateur career, and look, they obviously don't matter. It's about the experience. But I mean, between 15 fights, 2 pro MMA, a boxing match, 12 amateur matches, if I'm counting correctly, only 2 times has it gone to decision when you're involved. And more often than not, it's you putting your opponent away. So, tuning in to watch you fight is a guaranteed highlight there. That is certainly for sure. Speaking of highlights, I mean, we were actually promised a Batista bomb, mate, for Eternal 87. There's a quote that we have. Where was the Batista bomb, mate? I was looking forward to this one, man. I was tuning in specifically. Then we didn't get it. We got the knockout, but the Batista bomb, man, I would have loved to have seen that.
It's coming. It's coming. We're working on setups. If the position presents itself, it will be there.
Hell yeah, man. I like it. Obviously a bit of a wrestling fan growing up a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Hell yeah. That's so good, man. Yeah, I came across that before. I was looking through some old stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, man, I remember that. Like, I assume it was probably in reference to a quote of, how are you going to finish the fight? And it's like, yeah, we're going to finish the fight by a Batista bomb. Like, yeah, if we see that one day in MMA, that'd be sick.
Well, the amount of times that I filled out sort of those forms.
You got to come with something new, yeah.
No one ever uses it, so I thought might as well just have some fun with it.
That's a good way to do it, man. Well, everything leads up to Eternal 96 this weekend coming up. Of course, we said the Eternal MMA Interim Bantamweight Championship versus Matty Iann. This is another exciting, spectacular fight. Cat just jumped in my lap. Catch you later, mate. This is my show. See you later. Another spectacular fight coming up. Look, Matty Iann, a lot of hype behind him as well. Another incredible up-and-coming fighter, strong striking pedigree, well-rounded, much like yourself. What was your sort of reaction and when you sort of found out this was going to be the fight?
I had a feeling it was going to be the fight. We got told that it was between him and his the last opponent that he fought that I'd most likely get a matchup with.
Yeah.
It just worked. I figured it would be him anyway because he was sort of at the top of the heap. He's good everywhere. Comes from a good team. I'm just keen to have a good scrap. He looks like a good sharp striker, and it'll be a fun fight.
Do you sort of I don't know how much you personally analyze your opponents or whether you kind of just more leave that to your coaches, but do you sort of get into the weeds of your opponents and sort of dissect, like when you look at a challenge like Matty Iann for this belt, Like, do you sort of see like a big difference in terms of the kind of challenge that this fight presents compared to what you've sort of had? Because I mean, again, you just went up against one of the best strikers in the country in Chris Usinovsky and put him out in the first round. Like, do you see this challenge as kind of vastly different to the last?
Yeah, it's super different. You know, Matty's got a different style to Chris. Chris is a lot of boxing heavy. Matty's got a lot more kicks and kickboxing style. But yeah, I'll watch a little bit just to see sort of how they move, what sort of style they have. You know, whether to see he's a bit more of a kicker than a boxer. I know he's good everywhere, obviously, but I don't look too much into it because if he's like me, he's probably improved since his last fight. You know, so you can't take too much off it, or he's going to fight like this because he does this all the time. I'm just expecting the best Matty, and I'm expecting the unexpected. You know, he could come out, try and fly and triangle me or something. You know, I'll just do my best to be ready for it.
In terms of like how you guys have both started your career, because you're on a very similar trajectory. Of course, you started with a couple of knockouts in the first couple of rounds of your first couple of fights. Matty Iann, like obviously his performance has been fantastic, and it's so early in your guys' career, but is there any kind of mental edge, do you think, on your part because you're already showing the flashcards of these knockouts sort of so early in your career, or do you think that's kind of a non-factor?
Yes and no. You know, like I know that I have the ability to be able to stop the fight whenever, but it's MMA. You know, anybody can be stopped, and I think that's what makes me a little bit different to everybody else. That I'm okay with that. You know, like, to stop someone, you've got to be ready to be stopped. You know, you've got to be in the hit zone. And I'm okay with that. So I trust my skills to get him out of there. Like, I trust my skills to beat him over 25 minutes as well. You know, but yeah, I just believe in myself that I got the goods.
There's not, when you look at the landscape of the bantamweight division, I'm not even just talking here, like I'm talking across the world. Like there are some guys that have kind of one punch knockout power, but it's not as many as kind of people sort of think. Like, you're already showing that you're kind of one of those guys. Like, have you always kind of known that you sort of possess that power and that sort of ability to get the job done? Because you're not just TKOing dudes and wearing them down. Like, obviously that last one, cracked Chris Usinovsky and sort of put him down. Like, have you always known that you possess that ability?
Yeah, always. You know, I was a fat kid growing up, so I always know how to move weight. You know, like,
brought it all the way back down with you.
Yeah. And I think just understanding how to transfer your weight and put it into a punch, and it's in the genes.
I love it, brother. I talked to Matt, obviously, on the podcast as well, and got his thoughts on the fight. One thing that I love that he said, he coined this the people's main event. Is that a fair call in your estimation?
Yeah. I'm with that.
I love it. It's a great call. Oh, and that's obviously of no disrespect to the main event. It's a spectacular main event that we have with Darcy Vendy versus Blair Bratag for the middleweight championship. But yeah, this one, there's so much intrigue around this fight, especially for two guys that are 2-0 in their pro career, going for a belt, that are just showing so much promise already in this stage of their career. And it's not only that, it's the skills that you guys possess and just the power, the speed, the well-roundedness. There's so much to kind of enjoy, I guess, from this perspective. And look, for the couple of fights you guys already had, and each sort of fight we've been sort of looking forward to. As soon as this fight got announced, there was just so much buzz around it. I was so buzzed about it. I text Matt Bones as soon as I saw this fight getting announced, like, oh my God, we're getting Conor Birch versus Matty Iann. Can you believe it? So it's here. It's this weekend, man. So much to look forward to. 2-0 to start the career. Do you think we go 3 from 3 for the KOs in the first round, maybe?
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the goal. Obviously, we want to keep our cards close to our chest. We don't want to reveal the whole game plan, but that'd be a pretty good way, man, to start the pro career. 3 wins from 3 with a knockout maybe in the first round, and we put a strap around our waist. That'd be, that'd be the best way to start the pro career.
Yeah, it'd be perfect. You couldn't wish for a better start.
I like it. Well, you be the champ. You get the job done, of course. Kuya Ito is still the current, unless I haven't been told anything different. Kuya Ito is still the bantamweight champion, the official bantamweight champion for Eternal MMA. You'd be the Eternal Interim champion. So that would most likely be the fight potentially in the future. Have you given much thought in terms of the roadmap and what might kind of come next? I know you're not looking past Matty Iann or anything like that, but have you sort of thought about what 2025 might look like and those potential other challenges on the horizon once we get through this fight?
Not really. You know, don't want to look past Matty, because he's a tough challenge in itself, and I've made that mistake before in my amateur career, taking some opponents lightly, and I paid for it, you know. So I'll never make that mistake again. I have had my eye on him since I think he won the title against Rod Costa. But yeah, I think I can get him out of there as well. You know, I trust my skills against everybody in Australia.
Well, without making like any official predictions on the fight or what potentially comes next for 2025, like if you had a bit of a think about it in terms of an ideal world, how would you like to sum up? Say you get to the end of 2025 and we start 2026, what would you like to have said that 2025 look for you in terms of your achievements and maybe fights that you've had?
I want there to be no question that I'm the best bantamweight in this country. No questions at all.
Hell yeah. Well, we're going to get answers to those questions, man. In time of recording, 3 short days, it all goes down 21st of June at the Southport Sharks. I don't think there's too many tickets left for this one. And if there is, it's potentially in the single digits. So if you're interested in going to this fight, which you absolutely should be, make sure you get to eternalmma.com and try to secure some of those last tickets. If not, of course, tuning in live and exclusive on UFC Fight Pass to see it all go down. Darcy Vendy versus Blair Brtag in the main event. But the people's main event, Connor Birch versus Matty Iann for the Interim Australian Bantamweight Championship. I absolutely cannot wait for this fight. Been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Connor Birch, for the very first time. All the best. Absolutely, man. And if you put that belt around your waist, man, I want to see you back on this show and talk about how you got the job done. Potentially 3 for 3 knockouts in the first round. We'll see how it all goes down. Thanks for joining me, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
No, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.